Give y'all a few minutes. Y'all come on in. You ain't gotta take your shoes off. Just kick that snow off at the door. Come on in. Close the door behind you. Pull up a chair and let's talk a little bit about some stuff tonight. I'm talking to y'all about a few things. So come on in. I'll give y'all a few minutes. Get me a drink, some old ice cold Coca-Cola classic. Yeah. Ice cold Coca-Cola classic. Woo! Need to get on some more water. Y'all come on in. I'm gonna start marking these stories when these live videos. Once I post them, I'm gonna start marking these stories, these chats, these discussions. I'll mark the actual time we start getting into it. That way, if y'all jump in here and you catch a live, you ain't gotta sit and wait for everybody to get in the building. I'll have the time stamped in the comment section as to when we actually get into the subject of our topic for the evening. So, with that being said, it's usually about 5 minutes before everybody gets in, gets settled in. So, yeah, y'all hang tight and let's get in here. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I got my other phone with me. Yeah. So I've been really wanting some of my other people that I'm subscribed to go live lately, man. And I guess they got, life comes at you fast. They got other things going on. So I said, you know what? You wanna jump in on a live? You need to be the one to create a live. So I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a live because I like getting in on live, on the comments. But it's pretty cool when you get to, you know, set your own topic. So let's see. Wait for y'all to get in. Mm. Yeah, y'all take y'all time. It's icy out there. I don't want y'all to slip and fall and try and sue me trying to come up in the building. So yeah, take your time. Take your time. We are at 3 minutes in. Usually it takes about 5 minutes for everybody to get in and get settled. So in the meantime, I'm gonna keep the door open, and we're gonna wait for everybody to get in here. Okay, what's up, everybody? We got 3 people in the building. Letting everybody know. I usually go about 5 minutes before we start getting into the subject. But the topic for tonight is can you survive off grid living, like forced off grid living? Like if you get a real bad tornado or hurricane, or in this case, we've had an ice storm. What's up, everybody? We got 24 in the building. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Y'all come on in. Y'all settle in. So the topic of the night is can you survive off grid living? Um, and sometimes it's forced off grid living. Like I said, you get a hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, a flood. In our situation, our case right now, we had this real bad ice storm. That was forced off grid living. That was like a fire alarm. That really put a lot of things in perspective for me. Because gas stations lost power. You got a generator. What good is a generator if you ain't got no gas? You know what I mean? You can't heat. What good is a Mr. Buddy heater if the town that I live in, man, they were sold out of propane like day 2 of this storm. Like, yes. And went to get, it was a little Ace, there was an Ace hardware store that sells propane. They'll fill your canisters up, and across the road was a Tractor Supply. Both of them were sold out of propane. None. So, and where I live at, a lot of people don't really necessarily have heaters in their house. They got air conditioning because it gets super hot, but we don't really get cold winters. We get pretty mild winters, but can you survive off grid if it came down to it? And this was like a fire alarm, a fire drill for us. This was a test of our survival skills. Fortunately, we were able to stock up on gas. I stocked up on plenty of propane cylinders. We barely made it on the propane cylinders, and so I bought a wood stove from Harbor. What did I buy that wood stove? I bought a wood stove from Tractor Supply some years ago. I bought the stove for $400, but what they don't tell you is the chimney, the flue, and all that stuff. Man, that's like $1,000 extra to run the chimney up and out your roof. Hey, everybody, hola. It's like $1,000 extra, because when I bought it, I had the mindset that, you know, hey, there's a ample wood out there. I live in the country. There's plenty of wood. You can cook with wood heat. You can heat your home. You can boil water. But the problem is, you gotta let that wood season. You go out and chop a tree down right now and try and burn it, it ain't gonna do nothing but smoke, smolder. You know what I'm saying? And then you also got to make sure that you ain't burning the wrong type of wood. If you try and burn pine, pine is creosote. It's like it's like a tar or something, and it's highly flammable. Creosote. Somebody comment in there, but yeah, pine is not recommended to burn in no wood stove. So it really made me put things into perspective. Years ago, we got chickens because I've had this in my mind, like we might need to be getting ourselves ready in case something happens, natural disaster or something like that. And we got chickens some years ago. We started with just egg chickens. I think we got them from Tractor Supply. And then, we started getting them from Murray McMurray. You can actually order chickens and they'll ship them to the post office and you can raise chicks. Because with chickens, you got a meat source, plus you're going to get eggs. Now, keep in mind, some chickens, man, it takes like 12 to 18 months before they start dropping the first eggs. So it's an investment. But once you get them, those chickens, you can live off that. So, man, we got chickens. We had goats because I called myself going, we was going to eat the goats. Them goats stank, man, and they're destructive. They tear up your property. They get out. It's hard keeping them pinned in. And yeah, after I smelled them goats, I was like, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it. But man, tap in. Where y'all from? What's your ideas? What's your thoughts on what you need to survive if things came down to it? If we had a natural disaster that lasted an extensive amount of time. How would you survive? Are your cabinets stocked up right now? Do you got plenty of canned food? Do you even know how to can your own foods? We do a garden we didn't do one last year. We've done it in the past. Usually, man, it's hard. I mean, you need quite a bit of land to grow enough to stretch it out because we'll can purple hull peas, green beans, and they'll last us for about 6 weeks. But if we had to like live off of it for the whole year, bro, you need like a whole farming operation. So this year we're gonna try and do it. We always procrastinate and get started late. As soon as this snow and stuff melts, about March is about the time you want to start getting your soil ready. You know, not only that, y'all, and I ain't trying to scare nobody. This ain't no scare tactics, but it's just about being prepared, man. We keep plenty of gas. You're gonna have to keep plenty of fuel treatment, plenty of propane. Mr. Buddy heaters, but you're also gonna have to keep wood if you're gonna do the wood stove thing, and you're gonna have to season that wood. And from what I gather, it takes 6 to 8 months, maybe 9 months to season wood for it to completely dry out, so that way it'll burn. And then you need to get hardwood, like oak and stuff like that, hardwood. And then, if you got to also think like, okay, say you're thriving in an area. Hey, what's up, Pelony? Pelony. What's up, Penelope? Penelope's in the building, y'all. Say hey. So you got to also, Penelope, we talking about, can you survive off-grid living if you had to? And so, you also got to think, if you out here thriving, you've got all these resources, your house is the only house in the area that's lit up, and people are hungry. What does that do? It makes you a target, doesn't it? You start to become a target. So then you got to start thinking about, okay, how can I protect what I've invested in? You might have a stockpile of wood, you might have some livestock, some chickens, some eggs, you might have other things going on. You know what I'm saying? What happens when the neighbors or the city folks start coming to the country because they're hungry? They're going to start trying to take your stuff. So in that sense, you also need to be, you need to prepare yourself. I live deep in the country, y'all. And you best believe we stay prepared. I got a nice little gun safe, and I keep one right by my bed, right here. Yep. Oh, yeah, I keep that thing. That's that bullpup shotgun. Got to keep that. I live out in the country, man. When my mother-in-law passed away, before she passed, she had cancer. She had an incident where she couldn't breathe. She could not breathe at all. And we had to call a paramedic out here. It took the paramedics 45 minutes to get here. And when they got here, they took their time. They came in the house, saw that she couldn't breathe. She was struggling to breathe. And they were like, we're going to life flight you to Nashville. And so we were like, okay, where's the helicopter going to land? Well, we got to call the pilots. It was another hour and a half before the pilots got to the airstrip to life flight her. So you're talking about almost 2.5 hours of, waiting to be treated. So, living out here, man, anybody that knows in living out in the country, you got to be prepared. You got to be cautious. We got venomous snakes out here. We got copperheads. You get bit by a snake out here and you call the paramedics, you probably will die before they get you medical treatment. And then don't put, right now, if something was to happen, you would definitely die. The roads are iced over. If y'all go to the channel, you can see where I'm talking about. My roads are still white, solid white, iced over. Yeah, my roads are still iced over. So right now, if something happened, you got an accident or something, man, you gonna have to tough it out. There've been two vehicles recently. I told y'all yesterday that I was driving, and I spun out twice. I was only going 5 miles an hour on flat roads. Spun out, just driving. All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's just whoop whoop whoop. Well, there've been two vehicles that I seen on Facebook. Two people rode off a ravine, and their vehicles, the pickup trucks, overturned and everybody was okay. But you imagine you get trapped out there. So the question is, what are some things that you guys think you can do to prepare for, like, natural disasters, and even worse, like this is like a fire drill. This is a test of endurance right here. This ice storm. I know a lot of you guys in the country, different parts of the country, you may not be going with that. I know California, y'all have wildfires and mudslides, different parts. Everybody, the north and northeast, y'all always get hit with snow. So I think you guys are more equipped, better adapted to it. But down here in the South, we ain't really prepared for that stuff. We get tornadoes and everything, but a tornado is usually a temporary storm. Once a tornado blows over, it's a recovery effort. You can still get around, but when the roads are iced over and they're impassable, what do? When you go to the gas station and they say, we ain't got no power, we can't sell you gas, can't run your generator. You go, well, let me get a can of propane. Let me, fill up my propane. We don't have propane. We're sold out. I mean, to call somebody to bring you some hardwood, what are you gonna call? They can't get to you. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, it's really got me thinking. Like, we need to be very, very, very prepared, and we all need to be prepared. And it's just, you can't run your toys and none of that with with nothing. What's Penelope say? Stock up on food and stay close to family and always have each other backs and protect them. Cut up wood and burn it in the woods. That's right. Where we live at, we don't have no family. My mother, she stays in Memphis. My father stays in Georgia. I've got family in Vegas, Chicago, New York. So we're kind of like out here by ourselves. We don't have, we've got community, we've got neighbors, but when everybody's, struggling to survive on their own, it becomes a problem. Some of the neighbors out here don't have running water. They have well water. What happens when the power goes out? Your well, you can't pump water out of your well because, and most of the wells aren't like the old wells where you see where they drop a bucket down there and they can pull. No, it ain't like that. There's a little pipe that runs in the ground and there's a pump that's attached to it, and then it attaches to your plumbing that runs to your house. So when you got well water and the power goes out, you're assed out. Excuse my language. But, you're in a bad situation. My wife was saying, fill up the bathtubs and cork them off, fill them up with water. We didn't really have to because we have city water. As long as we let the pipes drip, we were pretty good. We were okay. But, that's going to be something. Like I said, I bought a wood stove from Tractor Supply some years ago. I've yet to install it. I bought the wood stove for $400. And I'm thinking, okay, now I just go get some pipes and then I'll install the chimney and we'll be good to go. No, that stuff, man, I think my bill, because it has to be at the highest point. It has to be at the peak of your house. Your chimney has to be above that in order for it to be able to suck the air out so it don't backflow into your house and smoke you out. So I need, like, it's like $1,200. It's like for a 3-foot section of pipe, it's like $200, and I think I need like 5 of them. Then you need the chimney on top, and you need some extra stuff. Yeah, it's a real serious thing, man. So I'm just asking. I'm just curious what other people are doing. Ain't no robbing, ain't no stealing, ain't none of that. You gonna have to take care of it on your own. You're gonna have to handle it your own. Yeah. And things are expensive, right? A gallon of orange juice is $10. I don't got no orange trees in my yard. Might need to start planting some apple trees, but I think plant an apple tree, I think it'd be like 10, 15 years before you even get an apple off of it. So, it's just kind of like, and like I was telling on the live last night, I live like 6 miles from the Tennessee River. There's a boat ramp where I live at. A lot of the fish, it's polluted. You can't even really eat them. We were talking about Wolf River last night. Wolf River is outside of Memphis. It runs right outside of Memphis. The Tennessee Wildlife Resource website tells you don't even handle the fish out of the Wolf River. In other words, don't even touch them. That's how polluted they are. That's scary, And then where I'm at, the southeast region of the United States, we have what's called CWD, chronic wasting disease. That's what's running through your deer population. So you like, oh, well, I can go hunt. I don't know. And what that chronic wasting disease does is it basically it's like it like makes zombies out of the deer. Like you might see on TikTok or Facebook or YouTube a video of a deer that'll like be walking and there'll be a tree in front of him and he won't have the sense to go around. He'll just keep butting into that tree. That's usually chronic wasting disease. Or you'll see a deer that's went into a river and is damn near drowning. You're like, what is that deer? Why is he in the water like that? Somebody will come help him out and he'll go right back. Chronic wasting disease. It's something that it's spreading, man. It's like I don't eat raccoon and possum. I mean, I guess if I had to, hold on, what Penelope? Working hard and trying to stay warm in this crazy world. We all have to try our best and hope God will help you if you believe. Amen. You gotta believe. If you don't believe, then you're on your own. But Bible tells us that God feeds even the fowls of the air. So why worry? Why worry? But I'll tell y'all what I have been doing, and y'all tell me if y'all have been. What I've been doing is I've started to incorporate my dogs. We got 3 dogs. We got a Dalmatian, a Pit Bull, and a Chihuahua. And what I've been doing, yeah, 1 fish a month out of your river, exactly, because that mercury pollution. Same way with the lakes out here, you can only eat 1. They tell you like limit your consumption. Pregnant women shouldn't even eat it, and like they tell you like eat only like 1 a month. Like man, you can't live off 1 fish a month. But we got 3 dogs. Dalmatian, his name's Ace. We got a little Chihuahua named Coco, and we got China. China's a pit bull. I've been putting barbecue sauce in their food, y'all, and you guys should do the same. That way, if it ever came down to it and I had to eat them, I'm starting to season them from the inside. I'm just messing with y'all. That was just a joke. That was a dark, dark, dark joke. I am not putting barbecue sauce in my dog's food. I don't have no intentions on ever eating my dogs. I don't care how bad it gets. I just had to mess with y'all, pull y'all's legs, put the barbecue sauce and marinate them from the inside out. No, we wouldn't do that. We ain't gonna do that. But we'll probably have to start, learning how to I mean, how many people know how to identify a tree? I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know a tree. I can identify a pine tree, but I think that's about the extent of it. Yeah, I wouldn't eat my dogs too. They're like family. They are our family. They live in the house. They're lazy. They have their own attitudes and personalities. You know what I'm saying? My little Chihuahua, she's greedy. That little dog is greedy. But yeah, trees. Who knows trees? I don't know trees. I know some people, oh, that's a sycamore and that's a birch and I couldn't tell you a tree. So that's something that I think, this year we should probably all start doing is learning to identify trees. Learning which berries are the good berries and which berries are the bad berries. Because, when things happen, man, this weather stuff, and that's just natural disasters. You got other stuff that, I said that, we won't get into it tonight. It's a very deep discussion, but an EMP, electromagnetic pulse. My son's in the Air Force, and he's told me some scary things. If we ever have another world war, there won't be not one bullet fired. It's gonna be all technological, shutting down grids and stuff like that. And that's the thing that scares me. It ain't gonna be like an old war where you got guys out in the bush shooting at each other and tanks blowing stuff up. No, it's gonna be more technological, like nuclear type stuff. It's gonna be sketch. And so that's why we've been like, learning to like kind of grow our own food. We got eggs. Okay, let me fill you guys in on something because I'm new to this. I did not know you do not have to refrigerate fresh country eggs. Like when your chicken lays an egg out in the chicken coop, it has an enzyme on the outside of the shell, and you do not have to refrigerate it, and it will last like 14 days unrefrigerated. It is safe to eat. Yes, absolutely. The moment you wash that egg off, then you have to refrigerate it because there's an enzyme that's on those eggs that protects them and it keeps bacteria and stuff out. But the moment you wash that off, yeah, you need to refrigerate them. I didn't know that, so that's something that's crazy to think of, and so we get our eggs, and we got chickens. I think it was year before last, we got some meat birds. There's a website called Murray McMurray. Yeah, I never knew that. I was put in the refrigerator too. I didn't know, but yeah, country eggs, fresh out of a chicken. They do not have to be refrigerated. Google it. Now you know. So, yeah. But yeah, we did meat birds a couple of years ago, and that was a cool thing. They got these Cornish rocks. That's basically what all your fast food restaurants like KFC and Zaxby's, it's about business, and they can't be waiting for no 18 months for one chicken to get fully developed. So they have we had jumbo Cornish rocks, and those chickens, they get full grown, like they get like 10 pounds. The males get like 10 pounds in like, I think it's 12 weeks, which is 3 months. 4, 8, 12, yeah, 3 months. 3 months. Now these chickens are genetically engineered, so they will never lay eggs, but they're meat birds and they're good for meat. And so what we did was we ordered like 30 of them, and out of the 30, I think we lost two in the beginning, so we had 28. And we hatched we slaughtered ours at 10 weeks, and they were stout, they were getting big. And in any longer than that 10 to 12 weeks, they'll start having heart attacks, they'll start dropping dead, they'll start breaking legs and stuff. And they were free range. I mean, we don't cage our chickens up. We got a little coop, and it's pinned off to keep raccoons and stuff out. But they could just go, and and it was crazy. Check the channel out, you'll see it. I posted a little video on there. And we went out and we slaughtered them up, and it was a pretty cool process. I even ordered a chicken plucker. It looks like an old school washing machine with a bunch of little fingers in it, like dowels. And what you do is you have to scald the chicken, so that way you can pull the feathers. So you scald the chicken in water that's right at the boiling point. I think it's 155 degrees. You drop the chicken in there, it'll scald it, and then that makes the feathers come out a whole lot easier. Then you can drop it in that chicken plucker, and then we would turn the water on, and the chicken plucker spins around with those little dowels, and you run water like a water hose, and it'll like pluck them. I mean, like a chicken will be completely plucked in like 10-15 seconds. And then you go to the process of getting all the dressing it, basically getting the guts out, gutting them, right, and then quartering up into regular chicken pieces. Once the head's off and the feathers off, it don't look like an animal anymore. It looks like store-bought meat. And yeah, we did that, and that's something we did. We also started vacuum sealing. Our meat, we buy it in bulk and then break it down in meal-sized portions and vacuum seal. Something that I learned when I deer hunt is I've learned how to cure meat. Back in the day, like, you ever go in the grocery store and you see those hams that are just hanging out in the middle of the aisle? They're not refrigerated or nothing. That's cured meat. And the way they do that, they salt cure it. That's why it's so salty, and they have to soak it for days to get that salt out, and it's still salty. But you can cure like beef jerky. That's a good example of a cured meat. Yeah, when I did deer, like venison and stuff, I kill a deer. I actually tanned a hide, and you can use the brain to tan the hide, and that you can make a little rug out of it. But yeah, I made deer jerky. I made deer summer sausage, which was super good. Just thinking about it made me want to go out there and get me one. Deer season's over, and I didn't hunt this year, but yeah, that deer jerky is fire. And you can cure it, and when you cure it, I think it'll last, like, shelf life is like a year or two, especially if it's vacuum sealed. And I'm telling you, man, that's something that I've learned to do. Learn to cure meat. That way it'll last a whole lot longer. And in survival times, man, because I mean, y'all have seen Walking Dead, right? What do you do? You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what we've been doing, and that's been the mindset I've had for the past few years of living out in the country. Like learning how to identify trees and stuff like that. And so yeah, man. But that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about tonight. Like, what y'all's thoughts on prepping, being prepared, especially in times like this. And I believe we are truly living in some uncertain times. We got natural disasters going on, but we also got like Minnesota right now with all that craziness going on up there. It's like 2020 all over again. Man, it's bad. I don't get into the politics. Your choice. Hey, that's what we live in, this free country. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for, but people are losing their minds right now, and it's some scary times we're living in. These past 5-6 years have just been chaotic, man, chaotic. And it's like, what do you do when it comes to your door? You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, we've been working. I've been just like kind of getting stuff together for like off-grid stuff. I want to buy me one of those containers, those big Connexes, those metal containers that they ship stuff in. I want to buy one of those. And cool fun fact is, you can rent like heavy machinery. So we live out in the country. We don't have a like paved driveway. It was just sand. Our house was just in the middle of the field. So I bought some gravel, and they delivered it in a big gravel truck and dropped it off in piles. And so, I wasn't going to get out there with no shovel and no rake and start spreading it. So I called up the equipment rental company that was in the town nearby, and I said, hey, I'd like to rent a skid steer. They're like, all right, $400 a day. We'll have it dropped off there in the morning. Cool. But when the guy came over and dropped it off, he was like, all right, you know how to drive one? I was like, nope. He showed me right then and there. He's like, all right, this how you go forward, this how you turn, this how you lift your dozer up, your bucket, blah, blah, blah. And he left me. He showed me for like 5 minutes, and then he was on his way. He's like, I got other pickups and deliveries. And I figured out really quick how to do it. And so it got me thinking, I think I'm gonna rent me like some sort of backhoe or something and dig out a big, huge, like the Connex that I would like to get container would be like probably a 20-foot long, or 40-foot would be pretty cool. I've seen them on Facebook for like $3,500. Dig a big hole in the ground with a backhoe. Make sure that it's not around your septic tank or any pipes or anything, and bury that damn Connex in there. You have a storm shelter, you have a fallout shelter, you have just a place to go in case of, and then keep it stockpile it, like bug out bags and stuff, food and provisions, water and stuff like that. Maybe even, those big blue barrels. You can find those barrels on Marketplace too for like $25 to $35 for those big 50-gallon drum barrels. And you can collect rainwater in them. You can filter out rainwater. I've learned a lot of things, just in case things get bad, man, Well, definitely a wonderful idea. Yeah, you can bury it, and then you can customize it. I've been seeing people on YouTube that have done it, and it's actually pretty sharp. The only thing that my concern is those containers aren't waterproof. And anytime you dig into the ground, you're going to have water penetration. So you're going to have to figure out a way to, maybe wrap it in plastic. I don't know, but figure out a way to, seal it so it's watertight. That way, when you put it underground, you're good to go. And that's kind of like been my ideas. I got a ton of ideas, stuff that I want to do, but yeah, man. So I was just waiting on some people to go live, and they didn't. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live. So the story of tonight starts, anybody that's going to jump in it. We started this conversation about 3 minutes in. I was waiting for everybody to get in the building. But, hey, I love y'all. Y'all stay blessed, stay focused, and let's do this again maybe tomorrow night, tomorrow in the daytime. I don't know. It just whenever I feel like it. Right now, I'm just staying home until the roads clear over. I'm not getting out, tearing up my vehicles, none of that stuff. Just staying put. So until then, I put some new videos on there. We did an egg challenge. I want to see y'all's egg challenge. Get y'all some friends, get you a dozen eggs, and all you need is a dozen eggs, some friends, and a water bottle. And what you do is you get around a circle. Matter of fact, go check the video out. You want to see the egg challenge? Go check the video out and leave me a comment and tell me what you think. And when you drop a comment, you guys do the same. Y'all do the egg challenge, post a video, and I will definitely check it out. Until then, be safe, stay warm. Love you guys. Have a good one.